emotions are what drive us, and anger is an emotion. You see, it's like what oxygen is to life. That is what emotion is to our relationship. Just like having a beautiful car, probably Benz 2020 model, and that car is solid, world best, but has no fuel. There can be motion. The movement and the usability of that particular car is grounded. So also is emotions. In every man's life, our emotions is what animate us. That is what propel our choices, what we do, what we like, where we go, people and things that we relate with. So, and for everything that has motion, be it vehicles, aircraft, motorcycle, whatever it is that has motion, one critical aspect of what has motion is braking system. Where no matter how good a car is, if it doesn't have a brake system, you and I know it's going to end into destruction. And so emotions, which anger belong to, don't forget I said those are the things that animate us. They are things that gives meaning. That is what differentiates us primarily from animals. Wow. Animals also have some emotions, but because we have some cognitive processes, our mode of thinking can be related to our emotions. So that's what makes us human. Okay. And so when we look at anger, anger is an emotion. And being an emotion, it is a secondary emotion. Wow. Anger is a secondary emotion. When you see someone angry, he doesn't just get angry. A lot of things, a lot of factors had put together the process that trigger anger. And so it's like an iceberg, tip was an iceberg. Underneath is so much variance of emotion, beginning from disappointment, hurt, and discouragement, even fear. When you are afraid, you kind of use anger as a defense mechanism to do what? To cover up your fear. It could be shame. Wow. It could be embarrassment. When you are embarrassed, and most time, anger occur when we have a replay of a scenario. Take for instance, Pastor Evelyn.
Yes, sir.
You have a daughter, and your daughter probably is about 17 or 18 years, and she comes to you and said, "Mommy, I needed this," and you made some gesture as if you want to spank her. Because of that, she ran away and get angry. What happened is there is a similar event in the past. Then once you see what looks like what happened in the past, you don't want that thing to reoccur itself again.
Yes,
so what you do is to use anger as a shield. And most time as human beings, we don't know when we do these things. Wow. So part of what we will discuss tonight is our ability to effectively know how to be angry. Because anger has its positive value, it also has its negative value. Wow. Everybody who tells you anger is bad is no. Wow. No emotion is bad.
Wow.
It's just the excessive. When you are able to manage, name, identify, manage, and use those emotions to your advantage, you become a person of power or influence. So basically, anger is a secondary emotion which comes as a result of other primary emotions like hurt. And for you to understand truly what anger is, you need to really know what is hurt. And when you are hurt, when someone hurts you, something happened. A trust is being betrayed. Probably someone you trusted, and then that trust is being damaged. Or you were not treated well, like fairly treated. You were hurt. Like, why will he do this to me? He should have known better. Particularly people who are close to us.
Wow.
Our spouses, our leaders, our followers, people in the church. And you know, church is a family.
Yes.
We live together. And because emotion is the fuel of relationship.
Wow.
And every day, anger comes in, hurt comes in. There is no way in our lives we will not get hurt. It's not possible. Even Jesus said it. Like said, offense will come. Surely it's going to come. Offense will come.
Yes, sir.
But you are blessed if that offense did not come through you. My own version of that is you are emotionally intelligent if you are not the type that easily get offended, or you are the type that throw offense at people.
Wow.
So anger, it's a critical element, it's a critical emotions that everybody should understand, because life is about relationship.
Oh, yes.
Relationship between pastors and members, shepherd and the sheep, husband and wife, bosses and employee. All of us will relate with each other on a daily basis, and there is no time where there are human beings, there is bound to be hurt, there is bound to be disappointment, there's bound to be discouragement. You will get discouraged. Things may not work the way you expect them to work. And so anger, it's the small thing up, but there are so many emotions that makes it. And what anger does is it triggers what we call fight or flight response from human being. What is fight or flight? When you're angry, when an emotion of anger is triggered in a man or a woman, a leader, two things happened. You either fight or flight. Now, your response, your reaction at that point, part of things we tell people when they're having anger problem, how to manage anger. In anger management is what we call 6 to 10 seconds principle.
Wow.
Before you respond, just count 1 to 10. At that split seconds,
Wow.
there's a choice. There's a choice, either to fly or to fight. So, but most people, because they were not in tune to this other part of anger, they fight. And the effect of anger is very, very devastating. We'll get to that.
Wow.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pastor. In fact, I was just about asking you a question, but thank you for the introduction right now. Now, I wanted to ask, and you already mentioned that about anger. Like, is anger outrightly bad? Because in Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 26, he said, be ye angry. God said, be angry. So if God said, be angry, let's know at what point is anger good. Because if God said, be angry, then which means a good thing.
Yes, sir.
So at what point? What are the things? What are the signs? What are the things we say, okay, you know that this person is doing the right thing, though he's angry, but he's doing the right thing.
Yes. All right, sir. It's very difficult for you to get angry without pointing to a person or an event. A person, like a human being, a face must be at the center of anger or an event. So anger, like I said before, it is not outrightly bad. In fact, I've seen positive anger. A colleague of mine who was on a wheelchair, we were about writing exams. He was on a wheelchair. Sir, he was on a wheelchair. He couldn't walk. But this guy, because of his incapacitated position, he reads and he writes notes. He jots. So we're about writing an exams, and somebody took his notes. We call it jotting. You know, you've read some things, you now know, okay, an hour or two to the exams, this is what I'm just going to go through. You've already sieved everything. And this guy is good, very brilliant. And someone who has 2 legs collected his jotter and ran away. Believe me, this guy stood up from the wheelchair angrily and pursued him. Today he's not walking. He's still on the wheelchair.
Wow.
But that very particular moment in time, anger propelled him and energized his body with some hormones.
Wow.
And he ran after that guy, collected his jotter, and sat down. Now, he hasn't walked. Probably maybe today. The last time I checked on him, he has not walked. And so, what that means is, for an anger to occur, for somebody to be angry, there's an event. There's a person at that center. So, sir, drawing the line is when something happened, we need to be able to separate the person from the act or the event. When we do that, then we will appropriately appropriate our anger. So, but when we don't do that, anger is very explosive. Like, anger has three phases: cognitive and physiological. Like physical. When people are angry, they are shaking. Their voices are shaking. The heartbeat is high. Blood rate is pumping so much. Adrenaline, hormones are secreted. Nothing else matters at that particular point. And so, if that energy is propelled towards a positive cause, then you see result. So, but for anger, that scripture that Daddy quoted, he said, be angry, but don't sin. So, there's a limit to what our anger can do. So, it is our wisdom to balance. When standards are being broken, be angry. Jesus was angry. He flogged everybody out of the temple. He chased all of them. God himself was angry. He was angry. Now, God is to many people different faces. He's a Lord of war. When it's time
for battle.
So the point is the balance. Is at that particular balance. When Jesus flogged those guys out of the temple, it was recorded that his countenance, nobody could look at his face. Because that is a physiological expression of anger.
Wow.
And so, once what you do when you are intelligent emotionally is, when an issue happened, immediately, that split second, it's very important. It's like 2 or 3 seconds. 2 or 3 seconds to either flee or fight. It's at that point you know, okay, I need to separate what happened from so person from the event. Let's deal with the issue and leave the self-esteem of that person intact. But you know what? If we are not in tune or we are not helped by the Holy Spirit, what happens is you flare off. You talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk until that person's self-esteem is damaged beyond control. And so, sir, anger is good, anger is bad. The balance is key. How we are able to balance it is key. Our recommendations as psychologists is anything that has to do with other human being, always take our time to think through the response. Always take our time. That's 6 to 10 seconds. You agree with me that time is a healer. Time is a healer when it comes to emotional issue. There's a way time heals. When I'm angry with you and I couldn't see you to vent my anger, sometimes I say I don't even know why. I don't even know why I was angry in the first place, because time has given you opportunity to rethink your choices. So instead of fight, you chose to flight. So anger is a positive and both negative emotions depending on the usage. Every emotions are good. Even the most dangerous emotions.
Every emotions are good.
Every emotions are good. Even the so-called negative emotions, they are teaching us. They have message contained in it. When you are angry, it shows that there is an unsettling hurt. There is an unsettling hurt, and hurt is the primary causes of anger. It could be hurt, Hurt. It's a primary unsettled hurt. When you see a short-tempered person, somebody who flare at every point in time, they're deep inside. There is a deep-seated animosity, grievances that has not been resolved over time.
So whenever you see a person who is short-tempered, can this short-temperedness be hereditary?
Well, you see, like emotions.
Yes, sir.
Emotions are, we don't, in psychology, I belong to the school of thought that believes that what we see, who we are, what we do, we learn it. A biology psychologist will tell you short-temperedness is hereditary. Now, Sigmund Freud, who was a father of my own school of thought, said, give me 10 children and I will turn them to whatever I want to turn them to. I can turn them to an armed robber, I can turn them to a saint, I can turn them to a president. What that means is, whether it's hereditary or not, we learn by experience. And our environment determines what this experience gives to us. So when a man who is short-tempered, he must have had someone who was short-tempered around him in the family. So you can say it's hereditary. But not by gene. It's by social learning. When a child sees his dad yelling every small, at slight provocation, the dad is yelling at the mom, or whether it's the mom that's yelling at the dad, they are learning. That's in learning, we have about 2 types of learning. They are called classical conditioning. He is being classically conditioned, or she's being classically conditioned to be short-tempered. So that when he said, so person, he already know by default what the reactions of the dad will be to that of the mother. And over time, he grew up with that, and society as well, if he's a male child, society as well have a way of protecting him, and then they also pass it on like that. So, by the way, we can say probably, but it's learned. I rather say short-temperedness, anger is learned instead of hereditary.
Wow, awesome. So no longer should people hide under the guise or be comfortable with the fact that this anger is hereditary. Perhaps you see some people like, because my dad had anger, that's why I find myself. So it is not a function of your gene, but something you learn by, you've said, according to what you said, social religion that is planted in your subconscious. So when such variances that trigger anger happens around you, you act by default by what you have seen.
Thank you.
Those who, so in other words, who you relate with, if you are not careful, can rub off on you.
Yes.
So for instance, if you relate with someone who is short-tempered, by default and in your subconscious, it can become ingrained.
That's right.
And before you know it, you start manifesting that.
Yes, that's
wow.
right.
So it's not really a function of genes.
That's why the
awesome.
Bible said, he that walk with the wise shall be wise.
Wow.
And the companions of fools shall be destroyed. So it's principally, a lot of people, you see, in life we learn, we relearn, and we unlearn. It wouldn't take much for you to be in an environment where people do things that are against your value, but because it's perceived to be the norm in that community, you find yourself tilting towards that direction. And that is why Bible keeps saying bad communication corrupts good manner. He said, what friends does, he keeps saying it because God knows the in part of relationship. He knows Lot, after he moved away from Abraham, and you see, with time, the environment in which he was toxic. So if care is not taken, he begins to think like them, he begins to act and do things like them. So people should face their weaknesses. Not okay, so what is the benefit? of you being born short-temperedness. It's not going to give you any benefit. So what is happening is people who have short-temperedness outside, beside the deep-seated earth, is what we call an iota of pride. You see, anger, like I said, is the combination of so many emotions. Now, somebody who is earth and is proud, how do you want to seek help? And then just look at it, then he's privileged to be in position. That's all. Do you understand what I mean? He's proud. There is a pride. It's not bad for someone to have weaknesses. We all need help. But take a look at it. Someone is proud and he has deep-seated animosity, anger, which causes anger, short-temperedness at every beck and call, and he's in position of leadership. And in this part of the world, what that means is when he's in position, if he's not humble enough, that element of humility is not there, because when pride is in a place, humility is not there. So the person is packaged for self-destruct, and that was what killed King Saul. King Saul was an embodiment of bad leadership that couldn't pour emotional intelligence. There's a whole study on King Saul. Even after Prophet Samuel has told him, you had already done this. He was even telling Samuel, see, don't disgrace me public. You understand? He was telling Samuel, see, you want to caution me, right? But you shouldn't be cautioning me in the public, in the presence of my subject. Meanwhile, when David was told that he was the one that killed, he took Uriah because of his wife, immediately he said sorry. And so sometimes when God says he doesn't like the proud, he looks at the proud from afar off, but the humble he draws close to himself. We all have weaknesses. So, but our ability to acknowledge, and when we come to anger management, envy management, we'll get to that. Thank you. Thank you, Daddy. Yes, sir.
And I was almost crucified. But I have to beg. Let me end my message.
Yes.
Because the day I got this scripture, I found that so very weak. And I found that anger is good. I preached against anger.
Yes, sir.
Tell me why you getting angry. Why you get angry? Yeah. But I find that without anger, you can't make progress.
That's right. That's right, sir. Very correct, sir.
Without anger, you can't make progress. Are you with me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Be angry. So I find that without anger, you can't be healed.
Yes, sir.
Every stagnation is because you are not positively angry.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Every stagnation you suffer, you are not positively angry. If you are sick, you just said something now.
Yes, sir.
Now, someone who has been on the wheelchair and somebody came and took his jotter away.
Yes.
He couldn't remember again if he was
On a wheelchair.
on the wheelchair. And he forgot about that. He was angry to collect, to make progress. And he stood up. Everything in him. With the angry.
And moves.
Kasha.
The hormones, everything. Everything. Angry.
Angry. Yes. So, if you are angry by your situation, which means as a barren woman you can conceive.
That's right, sir. That's right.
If you are sick, if you say you want to leave this bed, you will leave.
That's right, sir.
If you are angry with your poverty, you become rich.
That's right.
So if poverty is still seen around you because you are yet to be
angry.
positively angry.
In fact, to be angry against
Wow.
poverty. Against poverty.
Against poverty.
Because what anger does is it secretes an hormones called adrenaline. And what that hormones does, and you see, people who do drugs, the effect of what drugs do is drugs secrete some of these chemicals, dopamines, into our brain that give us some sort of energy. And what does that energy does? It pumps blood into our heart at a rate that normally wouldn't. Our body is conditioned not to do that. Now, when you have some of those energies around you, your blood veins, when you have not eaten, when you are weak, when you go to the hospital, when you don't have strength, what is lacking is some chemicals in your blood are lacking. And what doctors do is they put drips on you. They give you chemicals, which are chemicals to recreate some of those hormones, those chemicals in you, and give you that energy. So this is how it is. All of these hormones, there are some that stimulate our thinking processes, which gives us a fresh perspective about poverty. I'm going to talk about someone who is poor. And because he has not been hungry enough to see that poverty is causing him shame, reproach, he's still contented. It will get to a point. You see, in Africa, he said, when you run after a goat, it will get to a wall. It will face you. Because Abraham Maslow said there are 5 hierarchy of need. The strongest instinct in man is that of survival. If anything threatens, I tell people, the reason why people are still in the same place, either they are poor, they are sick, and is that somehow there's a comfort around that place. There's some level, there's some degree of comfort. Anything that threatens humans' existence will be fought with every zeal and zest. When they said Usain Bolt is the fastest man on earth, I disagree. Because what Usain Bolt does is an organized race, right? That is organized at people to let lion comes into this room and then they measure how fast we want to run. I'm talking about people who, if you put people in a room and then there's a lion released and they were about to be killed, they will run. They will run because at that particular point, that survivor instinct is threatened. And every man will do all that it can. This very particular principle is responsible for a lot of vices. Prostitution, drugs, a lot of things. Because people want to survive. Nothing else. I tell people, when you say government tell people to obey law, see, people are still eating, that's why they are obeying law. When it comes to worse, that there is no, okay, look at what is happening in America. Is there no coronavirus? What of the protest? Is there no curfew? And so when people are angry for a just cause, nothing can stop an angry man. So anger is good.
What do you say, sir? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What do you say about when you are confronted with certain situations? Like maybe you are poor, you needed to handle certain things, you're a woman, you're supposed to have a child, and you are being insulted. Is that not provoking your anger? What do you do?
All right, sir. Now, like the case of a woman who is yet to conceive and is being insulted. Like I said, there's some sort of consolation somewhere. It got to a point, Hannah couldn't take it. Hannah couldn't take it because the older wife insulted. Insulted. Even Isaac's wife, Rebecca, was insulted by the sister. That okay, he got to a point where she dragged the husband. This night you must give me
My own
a child. That is the peak. So what we do when you see, sometimes when people come in for therapies, I have this, I have that. What we do is to, even as pastors, is to make them see why they shouldn't be comfortable with their situation. Once that picture is clear, it's just like a man who is told not to smoke. With what is written on the cigarette pack, smokers are liable to die young. Yet, the guy still picks and smoke. You know why? There's no clarity. If you can only see a picture of himself with a dead lungs as a result of that smoke, even the word of God said, the word of God that the Jeremiah, that the Isaiah see, you don't see word. Normally you're supposed to hear word, but when you see it, it becomes real. So sir, at that point, they are still in their comfort zone. There's some relative comfort. There's some relatively measure of comfort. So when a man, sir, okay, daddy, when a man says, when Jacob's life was threatened, he said, God, he held the angel and said, tonight I will never let you go until he broke his. Did he care?
He didn't
He
care.
didn't care.
It didn't matter.
Because there's an adrenaline pumping that things needs to go well tonight. If I didn't get it now, I can't get it again.
Wow.
He didn't care.
Wow.
He didn't care. Because his life is threatened.
Oh yes, sir.
So anybody who is poor, who is not doing anything about poverty, anybody who is barren, who is not doing anything about childbearing, there's some level of belief system, there's some degree of comfort, some level of degrees of comfort that makes them sit in that position. That man at the pool of Bethesda, he was there, he was enjoying small hams for 38 good years. 38 years he was there, because there's some level he must have accepted some form of mindset, some form of faith, FATE, some form of destiny, some form of lies. We all process information made us. And so sir, whoever is poor, whoever is not angry with his situation, there's some degree of comfort, of comfortability. Once a man's comfort is taken away, change will take place, revolutions will take place. Is the strongest instinct in man. When a man is, a practical example, sir, is when a man is drowning, let's say on River Kaduna. A man is drowning on River Kaduna, and then there is a stick that when he holds on to that stick, he can save his life. And there is a lawyer saying section 5 subsection 6 of penal code criminal act says you should not. The guy, where we go, let's go to court first, but I need to be alive. People who are hungry have done all manner of things. They say it was hunger because it's a motivation, survivor instinct. So there's some level of survivor, of comfort for anybody whose condition is deprecable, and then yet is it that he has believed. See, perception is very strong. Perception is very, very strong. When Jesus healed that woman, that blind guy, he said, what do you see? The guy said, I see men like this. Jesus said, no. no. You have to be healed again. He was perceiving differently. And so when people want to get what they need, they truly need, they don't care. Like the young man that was healed as well. They were asking him, this man that healed you, by which power was he able to heal you? Is it by devil or say? He said, you guys, I don't know what you guys are talking about. All I know is once I was blind, now I can see. He was discomforted that day. So until a man or a woman is hungry or some level of comfort has been taken away.
So when your comfort is taken away, you get angry.
Very angry.
And when you get angry, a change takes place. Positive
Change. Yes, sir.
It's powerful and it's awesome.
You can decide to become uncomfortable, even when there is a measure of
comfort around
because
you.
that is what will birth a change. When you decide to be uncomfortable with a mistake, for instance, there are 7 steps, and you are on the 4th step. Okay, let's say in hierarchy.
Yeah.
And there's a 7th step somewhere. At the 4th level, there's still a measure of comfort.
Yes.
But people down the ladder will be looking at you and admiring you,
That's right.
wishing to be like you. Yeah. But for you to move from level 4 to level 7, you must throw away your garment of comfort.
That's right.
To get there.
That's
now,
right.
I want us to address a myth. We come from we are Africans, and thank God for the church. You discover that to a large extent, people attribute their poverty, misfortune to spells, curses, and something. So with what you are bringing to us tonight, that means even if there is a spell or something somewhere working against, as long as you choose to be uncomfortable, you break out of that comfort zone, there's going to be a change. So enough of the psychology or the mindset that something somewhere is the reason why I am not moving forward.
And even at that.
Yes, sir.
Even at that you something somewhere, right?
Yes, sir.
You understand that something somewhere is holding you down. Then you are discomforted by that stronghold on your life. That particular discomfort will allow you to seek help. It will allow you to seek help. Either you can profile by yourself or a superior form of assistance. A superior form of assistance. You see, a state, just like one of the Newton's law of motion, an object remains at a state of rest until a greater and higher force act on it, then it propels it. It propels it. And so human being has been wired emotionally to crave new things at every level. You will never get to a point at that peak of hierarchy of need, that Abraham Maslow hierarchy of need, at the peak, which is self-actualization. You've made money, you can afford good food, everything. You know what they do? They come back and they give back to society. That's where it begins from. They return back. That's why you see a lot of people who have made money are now philanthropists. They give back to society. And so somebody who has some level of comfort should not maintain that level of comfort. You know why? Life is transient. Life is transient. And we need to begin to know, as part of African, or we as Africans, that in the global scheme of affairs, a millionaire in Nigeria does not have $10,000 in US. So the strength of a product, the strength of a man, or the strength of a product is in its universal appeal. When a laptop crosses Nigeria to Canada, will it change from being a laptop? So why you then, if you're a millionaire here, when you cross border, you become poor? So when you have that mindset that, what we'll say, and because God is universal, is our Father, the silvers and golds are His. We have not even tapped small from what He has given us. And because somebody has 10 millions, 100 millions, is disturbing everybody in the community. It's because he has no global balance. So for you, it depends on what you're measuring yourself against. And so that's why that wise man said, life is in phases. and men are in sizes.
Positive anger. You said when you have a man has negative anger, it is destructive.
Yes.
Negative anger is destructive. It crushes the other party's self-esteem,
Yeah, really.
and the relationship is damaged.
Mhm.
So positive anger, in other words, propels motion.
That's
It
right.
moves you forward.
That's right.
Okay. Now remember, we are looking at anger and jealousy. Envy, I beg your pardon. Now I'd like us to, you've done a bit of justice with anger. Let's move over to envy. As a psychologist, what is envy?
All right. Thank you, Pastor. You see, most times people used envy and jealousy interchangeably. A client of mine walked up to me and said, "Sir, my husband is jealous of me." But because as a psychologist, we don't just throw words around. To you, it may mean the same thing. When you are saying, I am displeased, or I have rage. Rage, I mean, I'm disappointed and discouraged. People may use disappointment and discouragement, probably, they just use it interchangeably. But to us, as psychologists, it means two distinctive emotions. And so she said, my husband is jealous of me. So I needed to know what is happening. So why did you say, what are the things that your husband will do that will make you think, that made you think your husband is jealous of you? Because I needed to know. Jealousy is good. Even God said, I'm a jealous God. Because jealousy, to some extent, don't forget, all emotions are good. Jealousy, to some extent, is, what is jealousy? Jealousy is protecting what you have, because there's fear in you that you might lose it.
Wow.
To a third party,
Wow.
or an adversary, or a competitor.
Wow.
Just like two young men, a young man and a lady dating, and he sees another promising young man, thinking he's going to take that lady away from him. So every time she is on the phone, he will be so jealous as to what or who she is talking to, because he is protecting her. He doesn't want to lose her to that adversary. That's jealousy, to some extent. Protective of what you have. That's the key point.
Okay.
But envy, you don't have it, but you want to collect it from the person that have it. It's as simple as that. So envy is lack of capacity to magnanimously, I'm using my word carefully, magnanimously, like to generously accept someone else's superior quality and good fortune. And you see, it only happens when there is relationship. Envy only occurs, or jealousy only occurs when there is relationship. People whom you don't have relationship with, it's very difficult for you now. If like a young man walked up to me and he was envious of his colleague, and I told him, there's a guy in the movie industry. So I mentioned his name. I said, are you envious of that guy? He said, no. He's there on his own. I'm here on my own. But there's some form of relationship between him and the guy is envying. That is why he's envying him. A poor gardener, it will be very difficult for him to be jealous or envious of, or think he wants to marry a president's daughter, because he knows and believes that she's above his class. And what do we envy? Why does his son get to sing in the choir and mine doesn't get to sing? Why is she dating and I'm not dating? Attention
prophet.
that I'm not, that I'm not getting. Why is things, must it be the only one? Why must it not? We'll talk about types of envy.
Okay.
Different types of envy. Now, so that's the difference. Jealousy, something that you're afraid of losing in to someone, well, you are protective. God says, I'm a jealous God. God seek our loyalty. He wants us to worship him. So when Israelites were giving his loyalty to idols, to things that were he's jealous, because we are the subject of his love.
Wow.
But envy is destructive. one's ability. You see, in life, there are people God has placed ahead of us.
Wow.
Whether you like it or
Or
not,
not.
in ministry, the fact that you were here before does not mean you'll be ahead of me.
Mm.
The fact that you were in the choir before, when you sing better, Daddy is going to see you
Mm.
and make you the head of the choir. And because envy occurs so much in church,
So much.
in the house of God, which is supposed to be and it's not a bad thing. I tell people, stop condemning the church. Church is more like an hospital.
Oh, yes, sir.
When a sinner does not sin, wouldn't you be surprised?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, so what is church meant for? Church is meant to rehabilitate people in context.
Wow.
So you don't expect to see people who are okay in the church. No.
Mm.
It will not get to a point. It will never get to a point where you have everybody okay. Until that day when Jesus will present his perfect church
Wow.
to God.
Wow.
But as long as we're in this flesh, there will be acrimony, there will be
Envy.
envy. And but the thing is that, okay, anyone that doesn't have rule over his spirit is like a broken down house
Oh, yes, sir.
with a lot of things.
Mm.
So it is now for you to equip yourself with some level of knowledge to prevent envy.
Mm.
And so dealing with envy in the church, people will always get ahead of you
Wow.
in life that can never be two captain in an aircraft.
Mm.
Time and chance. Time and chance. The battle is not to the strong.
Mm.
The race is not to the swift. And it's not of him that wills, or it's not of him that runneth. It is
Of
God. Even God shows favor.
Oh, yes, sir.
And so it is now left for us to manage that. And because envy, the destructions envy has done to church, we'll get to that. We need to be aware of that. Envy is lethal. Envy is destructive.
Mm.
Envy is fatal. Envy is what has caused once beloved friends to become a sworn enemy. You know why? Because it cannot generously and magnanimously contain the superior quality, the blessedness, the grace of God upon a man.
Hmm. Refusing to accept that a man is blessed to be more than you.
Thank you.
In simple terms.
In simple terms.
Wow.
And whom God has blessed, no one
can
can
curse.
curse.
So you just have to accept
You're
it.
swimming against the tide.
Hmm.
There's no wisdom in it for you to swim against the tide. And so we need to be careful and know people spotting envy at the speed of expression.
How do we spot envy, sir?
When you see it, you can understand that it's as simple as this. I used to say something, share something about what I said. You have to be careful. When people say I celebrate you, when they added that, oh, you know when they are typing, I say I celebrate you. You see some of them had plenty to it. Now, when you see someone, this is going to limit to types of envy, because you need to know the types of envy before you know the ones
To
you are
spot.
looking for, before you know the one you are spotting. Now, there's a general envy that you know that this guy is a sworn enemy. He can even speak against you. I've seen a man of God who takes another man of God's book on a national television and was tearing it down. National TV. He said, this book, he showed the names and the cover and the author and said, this is so page, so this is what they say, nonsense, and tore it on a national television. So that one, you know, this is a popular envy.
Popular envy.
Like, you know, it's glaring. This one, what popular envy does is, you have everything. No, I want to have everything. I don't want you to have anything. I want you to be working for me. I don't want you to work for you. We must know. One of the people who are saying yes sir, or who are saying somehow relating with us, most of them are not truly submissive. It's because there's some sort of joy they are getting from being better than you. They are not really a pally per se, but because somehow. Naturally, human beings don't want other human beings to be above them.
Naturally.
But when you now had the things of the spirit,
Supernatural.
because he gives gifts to many, to different persons. To one he gives apostles, this one he gives. So, but what are we going to do with all of them is for the perfecting of the work.
Oh yes, sir.
So when we have that understanding, some people can live above that. So general envy or popular envy is somebody is against you from having what you are, or you want to even take everything that you have away from you. There's another one, which is called strategic envy.
Wow.
Very strategic. This envy says, and this is the most dangerous type of envy. Daddy has a friend. I believe none of your friends would do that. But as a way of illustration, Daddy. And the man says, anytime Daddy do a new project, I'm happy for you. Congratulations, man of God. He will rejoice with him. And then when the man leaves and go to his house, you begin to ask question. Why is it not happening to me? I'm happy with what you have. I want to have what you are having. But why am I not having what you are having? It's even for the first one. The first one is, I want to have everything. I don't want you to have anything. This one, I'm okay for you to have what you're having. But why is it not me having what you're having? You know the danger of that? Danger of that is when that kind of person have the opportunity to betray you or to sell you out, he will do that. He will strike. He will strike. And the same thing that happens to Judas. Judas was the one that betrayed Jesus. But Jesus knew. He said, what you do quickly. He knew. But there was another man who was a leader. He didn't know. The man called Julius Caesar. He did not know. His real friend, called Brutus, was the one that sold him out. He was the one that betrayed him. So, for a betrayal to occur, there must be a level of access. Level of access. And access does not just come from a stranger. In fact, when you see someone who is going to kill you, is written as a killer. You do everything within your power to protect yourself or to avoid being killed. Right?
Yes, sir.
Most people who are being killed, they come. Who are the killer? They come in the name of friends.
Like Judas.
Like Judas. So strategic envy says, what is happening to you is fine, but why is it not happening to me? Why is it not happening to me? Why must it be you? He won't show it, but when it's on his own, the problem is with himself. Then the danger of it is any slightest opportunity for a betrayer, you are gone. And so that kind of person, how do you know them? How do you know those kind of people? The truth of the matter is trust the Spirit of God. Trust the Spirit. I'm talking as a psychologist.
Okay,
you know,
as
a pastor,
yes, sir.
You have your way of doing this. But me, I'm talking as a psychologist. The best person to trust is yourself. Don't give people more privileges than they deserve. Don't give people more privileges than they deserve. There are some things that only you, for you. You know, in marriage, it doesn't work. It may not work that way, or he doesn't. But we have seen wives who has killed the husband. We have seen husband who has killed the wife. And so, but I'm talking as a professional, not as a pastor in this context.
Okay.
So that's the second part, second form of envy, the strategic one. Then there's another dangerous one, which is killing the church, and which is within the Africa. It's called contented envy, communal envy. Communal, like community. It's called communal envy, like what we have in community. What that means is, as long as all of us are on the same level, no problem. No wahala. His church is still 100 members. Fine, we are okay. But the moment you are doing 3 or 4 or 5 services, or you have a TV station, what happened? There's war. And so, you need to be careful with those people and get out of that mist, in the midst of those community as easy as possible. We all exhibit that at every point in time. Maybe when you're in school and you remember, okay, there was a test that was done today, and the lecturer said, everybody failed the test, so you say, okay, I'm happy, nobody passed the test. And so those 3 levels you need to know. The first one is the easiest, because when you see somebody who is against you, you will avoid the person. But you see those 2, the strategic envy and communal, you have to seek the help of the Holy Spirit to help you to do that. And you see, because behavior can be expressed, it doesn't take long. When you see somebody that does not like you, it's just that you are too blinded by loyalty.
Wow.
People, there's no way something will happen to you that God will not give you an eye signal. Even nature will give us signal, let alone the Holy Spirit. But because we are too blinded by loyalty in inverted comma, because loyalty means 100%, but some form of loyalty and access. And so we should be able to do that and identify those people part time. But communal envy, you can see them. Some of them, when you announce that you are doing this, they either don't talk to you again, or they talk to you scantly. Don't bother. Focus on your goal. Focus on your goal. Keep doing what God has asked you to do, and then with time, when they know that they cannot beat you, they will join you. When they know they cannot beat you, they will join you. They say, if you can't beat them, join them. They will know they can't beat you, then they will join you eventually. Yes, sir.
Matthew 27:18 said, Pilate was not in scripture. He said, I checked through the book of the law. He said, Pilate said, I checked through the book of the law. Jesus that you brought to me now, I find out that he has not committed any sin. But for envy, you have brought him. So which means envy kills.
Yeah.
Envy kills.
Envy is one of the most, it's called green enemy. The green enemy. One of the most dangerous things that drives our society, from organized crime to a lot of things, vices, is through envy. You know why? Somebody else is inspiring you negatively, like you're envious of somebody and you are competing because somebody who has something, he has something, and you are planning to take it away from him. If you have your way, if it's him being alive will be the thing that will prevent you from getting what you are envious about, what you do? Some of them killed for that. So envy is a killer, sir.
Why do pastors condemn themselves?
You see,
or ministers, yeah.
One of the reasons why ministers do that is because of communal envy. It's as simple as that. This community types of envy. But it's some level. You see, when a level of progress is, and people don't know what people who condemns each other, people who blame each other. I see a lot of pastors who talk against, like the one I mentioned. Why would you take the book of someone else to a national TV because we know in part and we prophesy in part. There's nobody who is a monopoly of knowledge,
Yes,
and
sir.
who even made you a judge over another person. So face your assignments and do your things. If he's doing it wrong, let him go and face God.
Oh, yes.
and settle his cause with God. So most pastors get into that web because of community. We have a lot of challenges in Africa, sir. There are a lot of things that slavery, poverty, deprivation has made us to believe that until I climb somebody's heads, I cannot rise. It's called the crab theory. When you put a group of crab, maybe 10 or 5, in a bucket, crab, you put them in a bucket. go and come back 20 days, 30 days, none of them will get out. As one is about to get out, the other pulls him down.
Crab theory.
The others pulls him down. And so when a man is perceived, I tell a lot of young people who are into ministry, and then even people who have been there, even in business, when you see people talking about you, you have left that circle of equal suffering. In communal envy, sir, they define unity by equal suffering. We are united when we all suffer the same thing.
They won't speak against you.
Nobody is going to speak against you.
It's normal.
Is it?
We're okay.
You're good.
You're a good man. You're doing the right thing.
You are progressing on your assignment. The exercise I always do is, let's take for instance, you have two people. You tell one person to go into a crowd and bring 4 people who are wearing t-shirt, probably t-shirt, round neck t-shirt.
Okay.
And then you tell another person, go into the crowd and bring 10 people who are wearing native attire. This one brought 5 people. This one brought 10 people. Then ask the entire congregation, as if it's a vote, who do you think will be the winner of that contest? The guy who has more members, who has 10 people, than the guy who has 5 people. Meanwhile, what was the instruction that was given to this one? Go and bring 5 people. Did he bring his 5 people or not?
He did.
Did he fulfill purpose or not?
He did, sir.
This guy that has gone to bring 10 people, did he also fulfill his purpose or not? Our assignments are different.
Oh, yes, sir.
And the people God sent pastors to, pastor needs to understand that people are different. So when you see that coming, it's actually a pointer that you have left the communal envy. It's a result of communal envy. When you see people speaking against each other, it is very difficult for you to be eating and talking.
Wow.
When you are eating, it's table manner, right?
Oh, yes.
When you are eating, it's a table manner. That's why you see people who are eating from the government can never talk against the government.
Wow. Wow.
So when you are eating together, nobody will talk against you at the same level. So, but when you step ahead, then you begin to hear. It's a normal. People fight change. It's a normal routine. But people should not be surprised because it is as a result of progress. Nobody will go into a strong man's house and cater the way is good. You will first and foremost bind the man. They will not fold their hands for you to take the lead and take the shine like that. It's only people who have understanding of time and season that knows that at every point in time there are people God has placed over strategic assignment. And then when it is not your time, it is not your time.
Wow.
So that's the reason, sir.
Now, where you have more people that speaks against you, and you have few people that, because I find that in church or in churches, when one bad thing happens, it spreads very fast.
Yes.
Why good thing that happen, in fact you even force the people to say
To
it.
talk about it.
To talk about it.
Yes, sir.
What happened?
Yeah, it's because it's because of our environment. It's because of our environment. And
Okay.
this still boils down to that crab theory
Wow.
that I talk about. Is the base of our calamity,
The
of our underdevelopment in Africa.
Wow.
Somebody posted something today and said Nigeria came first in producing agriculture, like in the generating money IGR from agriculture in Africa.
Okay.
The question someone else asked him is, if you a child that came first in a class of 50 people and his average is 13% out of 100%, who is he comparing himself? Do you understand? There are level of first position.
Oh, yes, sir.
And there are level of first position. We need to know the context in which you are comparing yourself. the question we need to ask now is, the people who are speaking against one, who are speaking against you, what is the antecedent? You see, a man who is defeated can do anything.
Wow.
A man who is defeated on the ground
Can do anything.
can do anything to bring you down. And that's why caution is allowed. When you see a man running, is it that something is running after him, or is running
After something.
after something? But it is better to be running after something.
Oh, yes, sir.
Because you have a goal at heart. You have a goal on ground. And so when you have a lot of people, it's just like a marketplace. Sir. In the market, there are more noises than the person you are trying to bargain your wares with. You want to buy meat. There are a lot of voices coming from the market. More voices. In fact, that you may even be screaming to talk to the person you are talking to. Does that deter you from buying what you want to buy and move? No. Even Jesus said, people who speak, if you are spoken well, they are spoken well of you, is woe unto you. And so what we need to ask is, people who hold some, you see, human beings are not error proven.
Okay.
In as much as we are in the flesh,
Yes, sir.
are not error proven. Sometimes it becomes very difficult. I've handled a young man who I talked to a young pastor who served under another senior pastor, and he left the ministry and he was doing comparatively well than the senior
ministry.
pastor. And so when I spoke about things like this in a meeting, a minister conference, he came to me and said, a lot of people are not happy with the progress I've made. I said, don't worry. I told him, I said, those ones are behind. He said, no, sir. People I respected. People ahead of me. I said, see, human beings might find themselves in a position. Take a look at the first Adam. The first Adam was built and molded, and God breathed into him. So in one day, boy is a big man. A day. 1 week later, he's 1 week old, but he's a full grown-up man.
Yes, sir.
He didn't pass through the process. Even though he's in the place of authority, but his maturity is not in the place of authority. But the second Adam, God perhaps wouldn't want to make that mistake. He has to take him through a process. And the Bible says, and the child grew in wisdom, in stature, and he was in favor with God and men. He followed through the process. So not everybody who is in a position of power is cognitively matured enough, or mentally, emotionally, very key, emotionally matured enough to handle the responsibility of that position. Otherwise, I've seen no reason why pastors should talk against each other. No reasons, because the assignment is you are not yourselves. Competition is the kingdom of darkness. It's not even a competition, because the devil is fighting a defeated battle.
Yes,
we're supposed to go make disciples of all nations, but then what you are doing is monitoring spirit and monitoring the progress. He's doing he has a TV station now. Sorry, sir. He's doing a live show. You understand what I'm saying? He's doing this now. What is he doing? And then at every single opportunity for you to talk about the man, you ridicule his effort. It's because of our community. It's because of our environment. It's because of that slavery mentality that people have had over time. People who are living this country politically, until people who were around when the slave master had left this country, until they are all no longer in the position of power, it might be very difficult for us to have a significant development in this country.
Wow.
Because in slave kingdom, there's what is called divide and rule. And slaves don't own anything, because they are owned by their masters. So slaves don't save.
Wow.
Slaves borrow money. And so a lot of that began to seep into a man that found himself in ministry. You understand?
Yes, sir.
A lot of things need to be done. Like Saul prophesied. You know, people take ambition for ministry most time.
Wow.
They take ambition for ministry. When Saul prophesied, people ask, is Saul also among the prophet? But because he was in that community of prophet, the anointing, the corporate anointing, rubbed upon him. Most people who go into ministry are like that. They found themselves within the church community, and then probably without a specific assignment to God and all of it. Because if God gives you assignment, you will be focused on your assignment.
Oh, yes, sir.
And leave every man to his business.
Oh, yes, sir.
And so, sir, people who talk, they are talking because they are below you, not necessarily in terms of physical structure, not necessarily because in terms of congregational size. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Somebody can be so rich. I mean, somebody can be so poor that the only thing he has is money. He's so poor. The only thing he has is money. What that means is money does not make man.
True, sir.
It is not the money that make a man to be rich. And so the fact that somebody has some positional status has been ahead of you based on your own calculations or our own calculations as men. That okay, he has this number of sizes of congregation, he has this number of employee, he has this number of car, he's living in this kind of environment. We measure some of those things based on what our society has defined as success.
Wow.
Don't forget we are product of our environment.
Oh, yes, sir.
Our environment has dictated to us what a rich man should look like and what a poor man should look like. And so when you now see that people who are talking against one in some regards, they are behind.
Wow.
Not necessarily because they have more. You understand what I'm saying by behind?
Yes, sir.
They can be so poor, all they have is money.
Awesome.
Now, if I find myself, one find himself a victim of envy,
Yes.
now what do I do to come out of it? What do I do? Now that I find myself having the spirit of envy, you are envious of another person, and that envy is destructive.
Yes.
Or let me first of all ask you, sir,
Yes, sir.
what does it do? Anyone who is envious of another, what damage does it cause the person, and what can the person do
To bail out.
to come out of it?
All right. Thank you, sir. Now, what envy does is envy blinds your eyes from seeing what you are capable of doing or achieving for yourself. You see, it blinds one's eyes from seeing your true potential, because in a game of football, now look at a striker will be judged by the number of goals he scored, and a goalkeeper will be assessed by the number of goals he blocked, he saved. You see, different standards.
Yes, sir.
For different people. But when you are envious of somebody, instead of you saving goals, you want to be scoring goals. So, danger of envy is it blocks one's view to truly see and appreciate what one truly have. You know, when you are envious, you start focusing on other people's things and refuse to name and count your own blessing.
Wow.
That's number one. Once that is done, you lose your identity. You lose your identity, because envy can be destructive. In the process of you looking at harming somebody, and if the person knows better than you do, like he's harmed with this kind of information and did not give you time or opportunity to do that, what you should have done with your energy and resources, you don't do that. You are focusing on that person. So it has prevented you from being productive. Productivity, it gives you setbacks. And envy also secrete negative hormones,
Wow.
because it can even leads to depression,
Hmm.
because you are constantly thinking about what this person have and that you don't have. And then once depression sets in, some envy has been said, according to study, to have been the causes of suicide.
Hmm.
Envy to the point of suicide. Instead of me to witness the inaugurations of this particular thing, no, I rather, Yoruba will say Enyawere is better than Ojuawere, and they hold on. What I mean is I don't know how to interpret that. It means, okay, it just, the person is just preventing the shame and reproach that envy causes at the end of the day.
Hmm.
So, one, when you are envious, when you envy people, it blinds you from being productive.
Hmm.
Then secondly, when you find yourself in the midst of envy, you are a victim
Of envy.
of envy. One, you need to identify, first and foremost, know that this thing that I'm here is as a result of envy. And a problem discovered is a problem halfway solved already. Once you do that, is to remove yourself from places or people who causes that envy. Our God is a God of second chance. Not only second chance, He gives people opportunity to amend their way. And so, but because it's too late, some people have lost their life
So
as a result of envy. So that's why we are crying. We are telling Pastor, be careful. Who is your right hand man? Who are you vulnerable to? Vulnerability. And you know why? A lot of our pastors are naive. That's what we call naive realism, naivety. When you are naive, something is wrong, but you refuse to see it as wrong.
Everybody's telling you, this person, be careful. And
Be
you say,
careful,
"Don't."
and you did not see it as wrong. That is what they call cognitive bias. There are a lot of so many forms of naive realism, up to information gap, attitude polarizations, cognitive bias, and a whole lot of those naive realism. Now, when you can be able to eliminate naivety, you will not be a victim of envy. But if you cannot be able to eliminate naivism, you're naive. And then you said, no, I'm open, I'm doing this. Okay, don't worry. God sees your heart is the language of the fool. Until you are stabbed and you bled to death, you will know God sees your heart. I'm talking as a professional.
Oh, yes, sir.
But you need to realize that caution is the shield that guides relationship.
Caution.
Caution. We need to strike the balance. Who has access to what in your life? You don't just throw yourself open to people like that. That died when one of the youngest king, I remember his name, he called all the prophets of Baal and told them he wants to worship their God. Eventually he killed all of them. He has done it because he is passionate about God. So the question is, who are you vulnerable to? Who have you opened up yourself to? So because something is there, or you can't see something, does not mean that it does not exist. Some people are so naive to the fact that this thing is going to kill you, but yet they believe. And until that happens, some are so lucky, they have a second chance. Others are not so well lucky. They have gone to meet God at not appointed time. At not appointed time. So caution is critical. We're not saying you should be secretive or so, but at some level of access that shouldn't be. If your life is an open book in terms of, but we're talking about critical aspects of your life, critical aspects of your ministry, critical aspects of your leadership position. Leadership position. especially leaders, church leaders. God has put a lot of church leaders in a position of privilege. When I mean privilege, you have privileged information, privileged access. Let's talk about people who are PAs or protocols to pastors. Because of your relationship with pastors, you have some level of access and privileges. And then because of error or so, and then you are using that to judge the man of God. No, it's a very wrong notion to do. So as a leaders in church, envy is disastrous. When you are envious, it blinds you from being productive. And then when you're a victim of envy, somehow naivism has played a major role. At a point you were being naive.
How much you've spoken or how you've spoken, they're listening like, how does he or she read, as for himself, is envy in you?
All right, thank you. Like the first point is, then you change your energy. Just change your focus. I'm envious of Pastor Evelyn. Why? Because every time there's program in church, she's the one anchoring it. Do you understand? Yes. That's my envy. You need to narrow it down to what you name it, to tame it. To ask you, who is the subject of your envy? As open as possible. She's getting an attention of Papa, of the prophet, than I do. You see, what you look for is what you see. What you look for is what you see. Why didn't he go and be seeing somebody who is anchoring something in another ministry? Is there nobody there? There's a lot of people there. Yes. But he's not envious of that person because it's out of his reach. So what? Focus yourself and love yourself unconditionally.
And finally, before our emotional intelligence, because this issue of envy is in church. We cannot deny that fact. Now, what do you do as a leader, to help your members, your leaders, the people that make up your leadership? How do you help them? Do you suggest, for instance, there should be a course or a training on emotional intelligence? You said emotion is what drives relationships.
Yes, that's what drives.
All right, anger is part of emotion. Envy is an emotion. Jealousy. Yes, jealousy. So, what solution do you prefer to the church on how well these emotional drives can be managed so as not to cause disaster?
People, when you were introducing us, we are the church. People are what makes the church. And where there are people, there are bonds to be emotional transaction. We call it emotional transaction. Emotional change. We exchange emotions every now and then, particularly in church. The only solution is training and retraining. Training and retraining. Of course, there's a place of prayer. But then, what will you pray about if you are ignorant of that thing? Now, something important about training in Genesis 14:14. The Bible stated there that, and Abraham harmed his trained servant. This is supposed to be house help, slaves. When Lot was taken away, the Bible said Abraham harmed his trained servants, and they fought against 3 countries and defeated them. So that's what training can do. Training can turn a trash into a treasure. When for loyalty, you don't demand for productivity from your staff or your member when you have not given them the opportunity to know what they require to do. That would be like that wicked master that wants to reap where he has not sown. So as a leader, as church leader, we have to take out time to develop our people. First and foremost, develop ourselves and then develop our people. Jesus transformed his followers. In Acts of Apostles chapter 13, when Peter and John healed the blind man at the beautiful gate, and then they took them to the leaders. They were telling them that in verse 13, that these men that were unlearned, ignorant people, and now they spoke with such boldness. The Bible says when they saw the boldness of Peter and John, So they began to ask question. What has happened to them? They now trace it and trace it to say they have been with Jesus. That's transformation. These people are coming. Don't forget, church is a clinic. People come with all manner of things. So it is you that will put programs and trainings in place. It can even be easier, like what we call train the trainer.
Okay.
It might be very tasking for you to be bringing people every time from outside to do, or you just identify one or two people, train the trainer, and then everybody will come. But it's operated in the structure of the church.
Awesome. The Lord bless you.
Amen, Daddy.
I still want you to just do one more thing for me.
All right, sir.
Now, I just want to drag a little bit back concerning anger. This anger of eating. Negative anger is destructive. What are the damages that anger will always cause?
All right. You see, I said anger is, we have the cognitive anger. I mean, the result, effect of anger, like cognitive, it blinds. When we talk about cognitions, your ability to reason for right, that's why
It's just blank.
a blank at that point in time. That's cognitive effect of anger. Then we have physiological effect of anger, from high blood pressure to insomnia, even skin rash, people who have eczemas and pimples. So in an advanced country, people don't just study medical or study medicine. They first and foremost study psychology that people go through. Even skin irritation, like eczema, like pimples, some of those things, they are as a result of anger. One of the effects of anger. Loss of appetite can be a part of it. And then when you continue to secrete that chemical every time, ulcer can also be as a result of that. So when you see people who have so many illnesses or the other, there is not only when they in an advanced country, when people have problem, they see a therapist. It is when, after you have gone through your psychotherapies, your whatever psychoanalysis activities, your counseling, then you can now administer drugs. But there are times which just a change in behavior, a behavioral pattern, can give you sound health. A lot of people are living well, shining and brightening, just because there's no the toxic. When anger is toxic, when it secretes toxic secretion or hormones in you, in that a lot of time you begin to have key is anger is the destructive factor in relationship. It can make you to do something to your helper, your destiny helper, and then you just flare up like that. Oh, so this is how he gets angry. And then somebody has gotten angry, and he or she, anger can cause panic and heart attack. Because the blood pressure, the pumping, it's coming at a speed not regular, not should have been, not usually should have been. So once that is not controlled, anger is destructive. Anger, look at things. When a medical doctor see you, what he's looking for is different from what the psychologist see you, and what the pastor see you. When the pastor see you, he may want to lay hands on you and do. But me, I want to cancel you because you are getting angry. That's why you're having pimples. Wow. That's why you're having so much pimples. People don't know. They say skincare routine, this one, that one. No, let's talk about how hungry you are. At every slightest provocation, you are flared up.
And the pimples will come out.
It will come out. So when you do that, you just check your level of anger, and then your body, your health spring up speedily. Wow. Even that dries up the bone or something.
A merry heart.
A merry heart dwells good like medicine.
A broken spirit.
A broken spirit. Now, broken spirit. Broken spirit. Don't forget that scripture, that proverb that says, a man that has no rule over his spirit. that means his spirit is broken. That means spirit is broken. It's like a door that has its window. Is door, a house that has its window, its doors open. So eczema, take. High blood pressure, take. Ulcer, take. Insomnia, take. All of that, take.
Thank you, sir.
See you tomorrow, and God bless you. Shalom.